Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Relegation Recap, a place where we break down the relegation matches in the Valor series here for North America and Europe. My name is Bill Jump Carter. Join with me, I've got Paul Inviram, Todd Kill, and teams that are fighting for these points have a lot on the line.
Oh yeah, I mean these points are so important. We're getting down to the end. It's crunch time. Teams are fighting for these spots at the top, and of course they're just fighting even to stay alive in the top 8. Nobody wants to get relegated. Fighting your way back through the open bracket, that's no fun.
Not only that, but there is a prize pool on the line, $50,000, and you don't have to be first place to win. These teams fighting for the bottom spots, it's just as important.
Oh yeah, I mean they're coming away with like $1,500 and $1,000 respectively. That's money. That's awesome for these teams.
Well, let's go ahead and look over at Europe, the first set of relegation matches that we had. Now, Nova Esports took on Existence, and despite the prowess that Nova Esports have had in previous weeks, found themselves in the relegation matches. What happened in Virum?
What happened was an absolute back and forth brawl between Nova Esports and Existence. Neither one of these two teams wanted to be relegated. They put their whole heart into this match, and it showed. It was definitely some of the best play that we have seen yet in any relegation match. Both of these teams put their all into it and came up with some sick plays. As you can see here, the aggression coming out from the side of Nova was impeccable, but in the end, it was the counter initiation from X6 that brought them out ahead here. But as you can see, it was back and forth. These teams were neck and neck through all of this. Existence, a team that we haven't seen have the most success here, went all out against Nova. They showed that they can go toe-to-toe with the best here. Nova on the backstep in game number 1. They find themselves down 14 kills to 9. Look at this. This was a solid showing here from Existence, taking the game all the way to the end here. That teamy play coming in from Chiquitin was so solid. There is a reason you don't give up that hero, and that was game number 1. Game number 2 followed much of the same suit, with both teams going all out here, but this time it was Nova coming out slightly on top. As you can see, the teamy play once again being a huge factor here, but X6 as well looking so solid, diving under towers, going back and forth here. But Sevka, such an all-star player for his team. We talk about him time and time again, showing up big here on that Kilgroth. But the Preda as well, the Max, so many big playmaking heroes coming in here trying to do work for their squads. X6 and Nova were toe-to-toe from start to finish here. iFlex trying to make some big plays in the mid, with the Malik as well doing so much work. But what we ended up seeing was the calm composure of Nova carrying them through here in the mid-game. It was their seasoned veteran decision-making that allowed them to survive in these fights. I guess you can see here, utilizing Teamy once again, and the Preda from Restless was doing work as it was Nova pushing forward towards the 25-minute mark. This game was a brawl, an all-out war on the high ground. As you can see here, the defense from X6 was so close. It was almost there, but Nova managing to clutch it out. And I truly mean clutch here, because X6 did not want to go down here. They went down swinging, but it was Nova who took game number 2, bringing it to our 3rd game. Game number 3 was really where we started to see Nova finding their stride. They got a great early invade into the jungle of X6, and they were able to snowball that advantage all the way through. They never looked back in this game number 3. This is the Nova that we have come to see time and time again here. Once they start to build that momentum, they can get a good early game lead. They are able to execute and finish in the situations that they've been improving on as the season has progressed here. X6, they had an amazing series. They had an amazing showing, but it all crumbled. It all fell apart. They will have to fight their way back through relegation. However, I think this team has a great chance of making it back to the open qualifiers.
And with the reverse sweep, Nova Esports proves their resilience in the Valor series. Now, the second relegation match was Team Queso taking on the new and improved Myth in the Jungle. And Viram, break it down for me.
What we saw here was a truly strong performance coming out of the side of Team Queso. Myth in the Jungle, they're still a fairly new squad in this sort of iteration of their roster. A lot of super strong, individually talented players, as you can see here with Mowgli making plays like that on Teamy. However, they definitely struggled a little bit on finding that team cohesion. Team Queso did a great job of capitalizing on overextensions. Myth in the Jungle, they did really well on trying to find that pressure, committing to these fights. However, when it came to these long, drawn-out team fights, Team Queso showing that the practice they have put in is paying off. They are getting better every single time that we see them. And of course, Team Queso having that org to back them up, having that infrastructure is only going to continue to help them, especially when Javix is making plays like this on the Malik. Yoshimitsu with some unfortunate endure timing there, able to be capitalized upon, and watch Javix coming in once again. This Malik play was so strong, and when you have someone like Ruiz, a really impressive mid laner to back him up, this is what happens in the late game. Look at the L'Oreal play from Ruiz, constantly able to outstep, outpace the opponents here, and Myth in the Jungle just falling a little bit short here in game number 1. They will fall, and Team Queso takes the win. Game number 2 went much the same way as game number 1, but this time it was really Team Queso being the aggressors, living in the jungle of Myth in the Jungle, not giving them any moments to breathe in the early game and really shutting down all their attempts to farm. When we do see the side of Myth in the Jungle try and retaliate, it really just came down to some beautiful collapses, some counter initiations from the side of Team Queso that shut down and denied all of that aggression. Mowgli tried his best here with this squad. The teamy play once again was super strong, but it just wasn't enough here. Team Queso just feeling slightly farther ahead in terms of their overall synergy, especially in these team fights. You can see it here. Look at how little HP they survive with. Just goes to show that the practice Team Queso is putting in is paying off here. Look at the way they're able to collapse, counter engage. Watch Ruiz on this L'Oreal. You should ban this hero against the side of Team Queso because he is an absolute beast. The rest of the side of Team Queso were there time and time again to back him up, and this allowed them to propel themselves into this mid game with a solid lead. 34k to 26, that is where you want to be at this stage in the game. Myth in the Jungle struggling to find their feet here in the Valor series. They are going to fall down to the open division, and we do see Team Queso staying in the top 8.
And with that dominating victory, Team Queso has proved yet again that they belong in the Valor series.
Oh yeah, they did phenomenal, but they need to continue to carry this momentum forward into week number 5. They have a great org behind them. They have some good infrastructure. They need to utilize those resources, and they need to come back swinging next week.
With Europe concluded, let's grab ourselves a ship and sail across the Atlantic over to North America. Unfortunately, AssassinsSquadRT could not field themselves a roster against the Dino Riders, thus placing the Dino Riders back into the Valor series. Now, our second relegation match was Upsla taking on Farex. What happened there?
What we saw was an absolute war between Team Upsla and Team Farex. Neither one of these teams wanted to be relegated. They fought tooth and nail to stay in the top 8 of the Valor series. Some phenomenal individual plays coming out from both sides. As you can see there, Andy God almost making the best of a bad situation, but it really came down to these team fights. Somehow, both of these teams managed to have some of the clutchest team fights we've seen yet in any of these relegation matches. It went back and forth, trading kills left and right, but Andy God, this guy is a god, especially on that tool, and he is such a threat. But Team Farex not to be outdone, showing that they can turn and go toe-to-toe in these fights. Look at that Kali damage raining down destruction from the back as these fights progress, constantly going in each other's faces here. Neither one of these teams wanting to admit defeat, but it really just came down to Andy God being able to clean up some of these fights, identifying Violet as the priority target for the opposing side, and able to shut that down. But really, it comes down to some big fights like this, situations that Team Upsla should not have won, but able to clutch it out here. This is actually a 4v5 fight. They still have the Darkslayer buff here, but look at Lubu in the mid as all of this is going on. They are fighting right now, but it is the side of Upsla keeping them here, getting these kills, but all the while Lubu is taking down the core, able to get value across the battlefield. Here is the side of Team Upsla, and with that, they take game number 1. 32 to 26 kills at the 13-minute mark. This was a bloodbath. Game number 2 was really Team Upsla getting the read on Team Farex. They did not give them an instant to breathe in this game number 2. It was all Upsla all the time. They were showing dominant performances in this. The Ryoma play in particular from Flowery was truly impressive to watch. 1v1ing a Liliana. Oh, hey, it's not just a 1v1, but he's going to get the kill either way here. Zaysha as well on that Ormar. Not a hero we see too often, but making it look good here. Just some phenomenal individual plays coming in here, able to help propel the team forward and not giving any instance where the side of Team Farex could make a comeback. They're just so far behind in terms of farm. Over 10k at the 7.5-minute mark. There was just no opportunity for them to recover here in this game. And watch Flowery. He says, you know what, we're ahead. Let's get even farther ahead here as he dives with impunity into the core of Team Feroxx. Watch this strict outplay, the spectral ire, the pinwheel, the stun, the wailing blade. Flowery going off here and helping his team secure the Game 2 victory. Upsla will be the winners here in this series, going up 2-0 over the side of Feroxx. Feroxx will be forced back down into the open qualifiers. However, this team showed that they definitely deserve to compete here. I'm looking forward to them coming back and fighting next week in the open qualifiers. This is definitely a squad that impressed me, but Upsla showing that why, after many weeks, they are still here in the Valor series. They take it. They will stay in the top 8.
And with Upsla taking down Feroxx in a 2-0 stunning fashion, they have secured themselves a spot back in the top 8.
Yeah, they needed a kind of dominant performance like this to sort of get their morale back. They really stumbled this week, and of course, they're only going to be going up against tougher opponents next week.
And despite the fact that both Dino Riders and Upsla found themselves in the relegation bracket here in week number 4, they are still in the top 4 contention for the playoffs later this year.
There's a lot of teams up for contention right now. NA in particular is wide open. There's still so many opportunities for teams to come in and get in that playoff spot because NA, EU, both of these regions are only continuing to improve every week.
Well, that's going to do it for us here at the Relegation Recap. Inviram, thank you so much for helping me break things down. Now, have you enjoyed what you see? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below. That way you can find out all the extra information on the Valor series. If you missed any of the VODs, those will also be up on our YouTube page. But until then, make sure you tune into the broadcast on Wednesday. We'll see you then.